Carolina obviously plays a very important role in tonight's debate, but interestingly, I don't know if you know this, plays a huge role, like Ohio, in the selection of the Republican presidential candidate. Only once in the last 36 years has the state not picked the eventual nominee during the primary. That happened in 2012 when Newt Gingrich won South Carolina, but Mitt Romney won the nomination. Let us bring in somebody who's been an integral part of South Carolina politics for decades, Republican Congressman and former governor of South Carolina, Mark Sanford. Welcome, sir. And what are you going to be listening for tonight? What matters to your constituents tonight?
The same thing that matters to people across this country, and that is security that you were just getting at, whether that's financial or physical. What happens next with regard to the economy? You could go down the list. I think that folks here at home in Charleston particularly care about economic issues. What's going to happen to debt and deficit? That really isn't an issue that's been explored in this presidential campaign at any kind of depth. I think I'd love to hear something on that front. What happens next on trade? We have a huge port here in Charleston. So I think the normal swath of issues is what we'll be listening for.
I'm so glad you brought up trade and the deficit. That's not something that we hear about a lot lately. And when I say lately, minute by minute, the topics change for Americans depending on the headlines. But you have a situation now where democracy, as I've been saying this hour, loud and messy. But does the bickering noise get so loud that the decibels, at least with the GOP right now, between Cruz and Trump and Rubio and Jeb Bush, does it get so loud that it ceases to be any kind of positive for the voters?
Certainly, at some point, people say, well, it sounds like a couple of school-age children arguing, whatever's going on over there, I'm not going to pay attention to it. But at the heart of what's going on here, the saying is, if you like sausage, don't watch it being made. I mean, it's a messy process, certainly. But what comes out of these debates and the eventual nominee and the ideas that they advance really matters in the sustainability of our republic. And I would make this point, to your point, which is, has there been a lot of noise and a lot of distraction? Yes, away from, for instance, one of the big issues that really hadn't been talked about, and that's the national debt. The former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, when asked, what's the biggest threat to American security, answered not the Chinese or not to what's going to happen next with regard to terrorism, but the national debt. It is a huge issue with regard to the sustainability of our republic. Really hadn't been talked about. I'd love to see it talked about tonight.
We've got to go, but you as the former governor of South Carolina are watching the current governor, Nikki Haley, take some flack for having spoken out about the angriest voices in the party, a veiled reference to Donald Trump. Do you stand by Nikki Haley right now? Because she's getting it from all sides.
I do. I mean, I think we'd like to see the uplifting as opposed to the downlifting in any presidential debate. And we'll see what comes here over the next couple of days, because the elbows get sharp as we get closer and closer to election time.
Okay. Standing by Nikki Haley. All right. Great to see you. Thank you very much, Congressman.